Okay, good morning, everyone. Today we will start our lesson with a simple, quick review about previous lessons. We studied about selective breeding, okay, and we said that members of species vary because they have different combinations of genes. We learned about genes and we said they control everything inside the cell, which is controlling the body. How does it work? How does it form? And these, if they are strong enough, they can be perfect characteristics or give good characteristics to the or features to the living organisms. Selective breeding produces animals with specific features by controlling which animals produce offsprings. So if we have strong features for these animals or organisms, we can breed them together. We can select by ourselves, select the animals or the organisms with the good features and breed them together to get healthy, strong offsprings and generations. Over many generations, this can produce new varieties of plants and new breed of animals, which is, we can get them, like we can have them strong, healthy enough to resist each diseases or any conditions. And we talked about developing theories. We need like to develop our theories by asking questions. And what else? Do you have any idea? How can we develop a theory?
Making observations.
Making observations, and suggest we need also to gather evidence to support our explanations. Today we will talk about, our lessons is talk about Darwin's theory of evolution. Darwin's theory of evolution depends on simple ideas, which is living things produce many offspring, but most don't survive. Do you have any ideas that why most of these living offsprings do not survive? Guys, anyone?
Yes.
Let's talk about cats, for example. If they have many offsprings,
They might not be strong.
most of them,
They might not be strong enough.
yeah, they can be weak. They could be eaten by other predators. They could be affected by sickness easily, so they can die. So we can see even in our lives, like if we have pets, that if they have many offsprings, not all of them will survive, so most of them will die. Okay, second idea is every individual is different and some are more likely to survive than others. Guys, I need you to take out your notebooks and write these notes with me, okay? So each individual of them or each offspring is different, okay? And some of them are more likely to survive because they have strong features. They have good health, good body, strong body, good immunity. So they can survive, they can compete for food, they can fight with others so they can survive more than others, which is the weak ones or unhealthy ones. Third idea is successful individuals pass their characteristics to their offsprings. When we talked about the genes or how can genes pass from one generation to another, or the Darwin's theory, we talked about like strong characteristics can be passed, like the color, the dark colors, the good features, the height, the strong features, you know, the like, let's say, we said like the dark colors, good health, be able to survive. These are more likely to pass to their offsprings than the weak ones. Over time, these characteristics become more common. So if we have strong generations, when we talked about selective breeding, we said that we need to select the animals or the organisms with strong features, which have very perfect features to breed them together. When we breed them together, they will have offspring with good features, right? these good features will be passed to the other generations. So over time, this will be more common in their offsprings. Do you have any question about this paragraph?
No.
Okay. Some animals start reproducing when they are 2 years old. Numbers could double in size every year if one of their offspring died. So some animals, we have some animals with good features, perfect features. They can have offspring with even 2 years old, and they can survive if these offspring got inherited these features from them, and they can survive they can pass their genes to the next generations. Okay, we talked about overpopulation or extra population. So why aren't there more of these animals? For example, we have the rabbits. The rabbits can have more than one or more than two. Sometimes the female can have up to 40 offspring in a year. So this is too much. So why aren't there more of these animals? Do you have any idea? Why we don't have too much of these animals in our planet?
Because the offspring don't survive.
What? Sorry?
Because the offspring don't survive.
Okay, what else? Mohammed, do you have any idea?
What?
Do you have any idea about like why aren't there are more of these animals? Like they have more than one offspring per year, like they have more than 40 offspring per year?
Because they wouldn't have things to survive here.
Okay. We talked about like the changing of population. We said when the population is increasing or increased too much, what what can happen like to decrease this population, or like how can we decrease this population, and why this increasing
Less food.
like continue? Less food.
Yes, the food wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
Diseases would develop.
Yeah. Too much of this population, more diseases, more competing for food, and they will never have enough food to survive. So weak ones could die, and they will not survive in these situations. Okay, so these animals or these plants, they can compete for food, okay, or for the places. Competition and selection. Mohammed, can you read the second part, please? Competition and selection.
Plants competes for patches of soil, water, and sunlight. Competes
Okay.
for food and places to live, and both need to avoid being eaten.
Okay, plants compete for patches of soil, so they can extend their roots down, deep down the ground for more soil, to extract more or to absorb more minerals and water. And even they can extend their stem upwards to collect sunlight enough to get their photosynthesis. The second point, compete for food, which is the animals. The animals they can compete for food and places to live. They can fight. Do you remember about the monkeys when we talked about the gorillas? Sorry, not monkeys, gorillas. They can fight to get the place to be to be the king or to be the boss. Okay, to have the best food, to control the whole herd. And also animals and plants, they are trying to avoid being eaten. So the strong ones, they will survive and fight for their lives. Okay, do you have any question about this graph?
No.
Okay, we will go now to a video. I'm going to show you a video about overproduction of offspring. Okay.
Organisms instinctively reproduce as many times as possible and thus have the potential potential to increase infinitely. But the growth of any population is limited by the conditions of the environment. Reproductive instincts result in a cycle of competition and struggle for survival. Let's track this small population that has migrated to a new island. During each breeding season, many offspring are produced.
Okay, you need to follow this chart, okay? They will show you how the population can increase and decrease, keep increasing and decreasing in this per year, and how this can affect the population, okay?
Because resources are plentiful, most of them survive. The population continues to increase and competition remains low. But eventually, the population reaches a limit and competition increases. Another breeding season brings the population above the environment's capacity. There are no longer enough resources for everyone, and competition is fierce. Because there are not enough resources, some individuals do not survive. The next breeding season brings the population above the capacity again. Competition takes place, only the best fit survive, and once again, some do not make it.
See, in this point, as we said, if the population increase, they will fight for a place, and the best ones will survive, and most of them will die. They will compete for food, even not just the place. Okay, to prove themselves in the herd.
This pattern of overproduction of offspring, followed by survival of the fittest, continues year after year. Most individuals are born into environments of limited resources and fierce competition. Overproduction results in competition, and competition results in natural selection.
Okay, guys, let's go to this natural selection. Do you have any idea what is this natural selection? What does it mean?
It's like the one who survive and who die, they're selected by the nature.
Yeah, the nature is playing a role in selecting who survives and who dies. Not just competition between them. Also, we have other factors that can affect. So what is this survival of the fittest? Survival of the fittest, who has the ability to survive according to the situation, the environment, everything around it. So an animal's predators or prey are part of its environment. Other aspects of their environment can also decide which animals survive. So what are these aspects? Like we have the temperature, the water supply, the presence of disease organisms. If these animals, they don't have strong features, they cannot stand the temperature, the high temperatures. They cannot fight for water supply, and also if the disease came, they cannot fight it with their immunities. So who survive? The fittest. That's the meaning of survival of the fittest. So we call this natural selection. The nature plays a big role of selecting who survives and who dies. Inheritance of useful characteristics. How can they inherit, or how can this affect the selection? Evolution by natural selection occurs when useful characteristics are passed to the next generations, as we did in selective breeding, but this is not natural selection. We call it artificial selection, because we choose who is going to breed with who. We choose the strong features, we can breed them together. But the natural selection, if they have useful characteristics, good instinct of hunting, they fast enough, they have big structures, strong structures of their bodies, they can pass this to their generations. So over time, these generations become more common to their offsprings. So the next generations, all the next generations will be, we can say, against diseases, against like they will be more likely to survive more than the past generations. So also they will become better adapted to their environments. They can survive in this environment. Okay. Do you have any question about this?
No, it's all clear.
Okay, let's have another video that show you the natural selection, okay?
Charles Darwin was a famous scientist in the 1800s. He was famous because he came up with an idea that changed the way we think and life on Earth forever. The theory of evolution. Darwin loved animals and studied them all his life. In 1831, he went on an exciting voyage on a ship that nature was made. In Australia, where Darwin observed and collected a wide range of weird plants and animals. When he got back to England, he analysed his collection closely. That was when his ideas about evolution started to form. Darwin had found around 15 different species of finch when he was on the Galapagos Islands. He noticed that the birds were similar to other finches in lots of ways, but their beaks were all different shapes. Darwin looked into it further. He realised that the different beaks matched the
Guys, we talked about these beaks, okay, in developing a theory lesson. Can you remember any useful things for the beak shapes? How can this be useful for them?
If the beak is longer, it will help them like catch the insects from like between the tree barks.
Yeah, and sometimes they have to dig underground to find their foods. So the short ones with the short beaks, the ones with the short beaks, they will not be able to survive more than the tall beaks one. Okay, so that's where that what he discovered, and he started to develop his theory.
available on each island. Finches who ate insects had skinny, pointed beaks, so they could claw better. And those that ate hard fruits had beaks that were sharp, so they could get through the skin. Darwin decided that there was only one way that this could have happened. The birds must have adapted to their environment over time. This led him to another idea.
Okay, guys, how can they be adapted to their environments over time? I was just explaining this.
Like the past generations will pass their like the useful characteristics to the
Yeah.
new generations.
Yes, very good. They can pass their strong or good characteristics to their generations. So over time, this will be more common. They will survive more and more in nature. Okay, last thing we need to talk about is resistance. How resistance can affect generations. I mentioned before something about resistance. Our body can resist or reject, for example, this is an example for antibiotics, for example, if we took them too much, okay? So why sometimes we don't advise people to use too many pesticides or too many insecticides for plants or even for insects? Like we don't need to spray or use insecticides all the time. Do you have any idea? Mohammed?
If
Mohammed,
we
you're
like,
not
if
sharing.
we do too much, then these plants will be adapted to it, so their offsprings will like they will be resistant to this.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. This resistance, how the generations can resist something. For example, if we have rats or any kind of these rodents, okay? If we fight them with too much medicines, insecticides, pesticides, anything, okay? Over generations, their body will be adapted to these chemicals. So they will absorb chemicals and they will have offsprings that are able to fight or to resist this, insecticides or pesticides, okay? So in this case, they will have very strong features, and over time, over generations, they will be able to fight it. It will not affect it at all. Actually, I noticed this in our lives. If you spray too much chemicals around your house, many insects will be resistant to this medicine, to this chemical, and they will be able to fight it, and they will have offspring that be able to be against it and resist it all the time. So this is the meaning of resistance, okay? So the useful characteristics can resist the bad circumstances or bad situations all over generations and over time. So this was all about Darwin's theory. So the summary of this lesson is talking about members of species have different characteristics. This makes some individuals more likely to survive than others because they have strong features, not weak ones. Also, survivors reproduce and pass their useful characteristics to the next generations. And over many generations, these characteristics become more common and the species changes. Okay, so this was all about our lesson. Do you have any question?
Yes, actually, I do.
Okay.
We said that like
No,
the generations pass the useful and the strong characteristics to their offspring.
Yeah.
But in some cases, do they also like pass their bad characteristics and
Yeah,
like
of
weak
course. Of
characteristics?
course. In both cases, they will pass, but the strong ones win. We can say they can overcome the weak characteristics. This is about like passing genes. You are not passing the useful ones only. No, you are passing everything, but most likely they will be strong, the useful ones. Over time, they will pass only the good features or the useful features or the useful characteristics to their offsprings because they will overcome the weak ones. Okay? Did you understand it now?
Tamam, 9 derece. Anam
Yes.
18 yere girmemiş. Hadi. Hadi söylemem bir
Sophie,
kişi.
did you understand it?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
guys.
Senin
Thank
Do you
you.
have any questions?
hangi
So we finished our lesson, okay? Okay, see you next time.
See you.